Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. Today's video we're going to discuss this. This is Milwaukee's Jigsaw. This is their M12 model. So without further ado, let's jump in. Hello, if you're new to this channel, my name is Dan Shannon. I enjoy woodworking as a hobby and being out in the shop. On this channel, dive deep into my shop as we explore tools and tool reviews, as well as chatting about everything related to woodworking. If this grabs you by the tool belt, please subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. Today's episode, we're just going to jump into this tool. This is Milwaukee's M12 model, and this is their 12-volt cordless jigsaw. So we're going to go through the features of this tool, so what it has to offer for features. Then we're going to jump into the hands-on. So what are the capabilities of this tool for cutting? And then we'll jump into some final thoughts that I have on whether or not you should buy this tool, what it would be good for, and just the overall feel from my perspective. So let's jump into the features. Okay, so you're going to notice I have the jigsaw. This is Milwaukee's M12. You can see it has their small, compact red lithium XC 3.0 battery, and this is their M12 series for this particular tool. And on the back, you notice the sticker. It has the information as well. This is 2,800 rotations per minute, so that's kind of the speed, and they vary. Some of the bigger models, of course, you can get 35, 38, so on and so forth, and this tool is the 28, and you can get the serial number off this as well, but it is the 12 volt, and it's got some warnings on the backside sticker as well. But as we go from there, you're going to notice down a little bit is a lock and unlock. So you just push this side to side, back and forth, and that will lock out your trigger so you can't apply the power to use it, which is a great safety feature, especially if you have this tool in a bag and you're going from job site to job site. You just want to lock that on so your trigger can't engage in the bag to burn through your battery. On the front, you'll notice there's an LED light. So as you pull the trigger a little bit, you'll see the LED light shine. There's a little piece of metal that bends down, and that gives you your shadow on your board. So you can see from the light casting on that where your cut line will be or where the blade path will go. And there's a clear piece of plastic here so you can see. Usually there's lots of sawdust as you're cutting, so it's nice to have that clear plastic so you can have a good visual on your pencil line. So I really like that. And here there's a dial just down from the LED, and you just twist that to release your blade. So you just twist that to the right and your blade will be released. So you just twist that and pull your blade out. And these are the T series shank. So you can buy these Diablo blades. I got these on Amazon. They sell them in different locations, but you want to make sure that your jigsaw has the right series of blade. So these are the T-shank series, and that's quite a common. My rigid one takes the T series as well, and it looks like a T at the top, so very easy to find that out. And to install it again, you just line it up, make sure that it's on top of the wheel, and then put it back in again. So you'll see the wheel there, and that holds the blade still, so it's not moving all over the place. It rests on that wheel. So it's a guide wheel, and it rotates when the blade goes up and down. So that's a great setup there, and that's easy to install. And as you know, is a little bit further up from that, you'll have some LED lights. So as you engage the machine, they'll light up. So that's your battery power. That tells you how much battery is left on the machine there. So that's a really nice feature for that. And of course, you have vents for heat distribution. So as you're using this a lot, of course, it needs to stay cool, so you'll have your heat. And then it says Milwaukee here on the top. And then as we go towards the bottom, you'll notice there's different measurements on the bottom plate, and that's for your different degrees. So right now it's at a perfect 90 degree with the blade. So as you're cutting your board, it's perfect 90. If you wanted to switch that to 45, there's a back switch right here, and you just twist that, you pull it toward yourself, it unlocks. And this has notches. So there's little notches. I don't know if you can see there, but there's little notches that this rests into the bottom plate. So you just push it up and then twist it to get your angle. And the angle's also located on the bottom plate there. And then once you get the angle you want, you pull this plate back, and then it'll lock into the proper angle. So that's easy adjustment for that. Some of them you have to use an Allen key on the base, loosen it, twist it, tighten it. So I really like the fact that there's a quick release switch in the middle here that you can just twist out, pivot, slide back in. And it is nice that they have those increments where it locks in, because I know sometimes if you're not quite on 45, go to make the cut, you do a joint, it's can be slightly off. So it's good that they have that. And then as we go towards the back, and I should mention too, there's a black plate on the bottom. This snaps off, and I do believe you can put a couple of blades. No, this model doesn't have that. Some models do have a snap in, so you can put storage blades in here, but I don't see that on this particular model. So if you need to go in here and clean anything out, you can see your bottom plate. And the plastic is great. It adds a little bit of smoothness to your material as you're sliding your saw along, so it doesn't grip down. So that's a great feature to have on this tool, is that plastic to make it that much smoother. And of course, as you slide towards the back, you have your trigger, and this is a pressure sensitive variable speed. So the lower you hold the trigger, the slower the blade will go. So as you can see here, have slow speed, and then it works its way up to full out power. And since this is a M12 and a 12 volt battery, it's not as strong as the bigger saws you can get. So Milwaukee does make the M18, and that's a bigger saw, more power. So I always say, depending on what you're cutting and what you're doing for a project, each tool has its spot in the lineup. And I would say that's the case with this as well. And then you got your battery at the bottom. This is kind of a compact size battery, not too bulky, doesn't stand out too well. And you just press the two tabs and this battery will come out and you can charge it. And then when you're ready to put it back in, it just slides back in and then snaps into place. And that's how you know it is locked in and good to go. So that's pretty much it for the features on this tool. You know, all in all, it's very simplistic. The design is pretty neat. I like the fact that it's long here. and it's not like the old school traditional jigsaw. So as you're cutting, you can follow your line well and have lots of maneuverability with the tool. So that's the features. So let's jump into some hands-on now and see what this thing can do. Okay, so here we are with the hands-on of this jigsaw. So first I'm just going to do a straight cut on this board. So I have my speed square. I'm just going to take it and draw a line. You can also use this speed square as your template to keep your saw straight. So I do that a lot with my circular saw. That way when you're cutting, you can just run it along there, and this will keep your saw straight at all times. So we'll just do that right now. So as you can see there, that cut that no problem, very easy. And I do want to make mention about the blades. So depending on what you're cutting, the thickness of the board, you can get longer blades. So there you could tell we were quite a bit longer than the actual material. So that was no problem. But if you had, say, a 2x6 or a bit thicker, of course you'd need a longer blade to cut through that material. So you go back to your case and make sure you have the proper blade selected. Of course, there's some for metal, general purpose materials, and then of course your wood. And there's different types of blades for what you're cutting. There's a scroll blade, just a regular jagged tooth, which is this one here. So depending on the finish that you want for your cut, that would depend on what blade you use. All right, so let's jump into more of a detailed cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a squiggly pattern. If you're getting into more detailed, like say a trim piece for a project or doorway, you'd want to do some type of scroll work. So we'll just do a random kind of cut here, and then I'm going to put the blade through. And okay, so I have my line traced on my board, and I'm going to do a little bit of a curvy cut and see how that does. So let's jump into that now. So as you can see there, that turned out quite well. Near the end, it started jumping around a lot, and that was mainly because the teeth I have on this particular blade are quite rough and jagged, whereas if you had finer teeth on a blade, it would definitely cut that a lot cleaner and let the saw rest a little bit more instead of being a little bit more jumpy. So of course the right blade for the project that you're working on definitely factors into the performance of your saw in detail. So we're going to jump into one more piece. This was a thinner piece. Let's see how it does on a thicker piece of 2x6 and see whether it can cut it. Okay, I got a thicker piece of 2x6 here, and we're going to see how this will cut. So I can see here my blade is long enough, just barely, but it is long enough. So we're going to put this through and see how it bogs out and how it handles it. So as you can see there, that cut through there, no problem. Definitely has enough power to cut thicker boards. So depending on what you're doing on the job site, this can definitely tackle. I'll do that one more time, do one more cut. There you go. So that cut that no problem. And of course, this has more jagged teeth, so cutting through thicker board was great. But on the thinner stuff, you could see that it was bouncing around quite a bit. And that wasn't the saw, that was the blade that I was using. So just make that distinction when you go to cut something. Make sure your blade is the proper blade for what you're cutting. All right, let's jump into some final thoughts. Okay, some final thoughts on this jigsaw and how it performed and how I thought it handled compared to my jigsaw that I own, which is Rigid's jigsaw. And I do have a review of this one. This is our 8832 model, and I do have a review on my channel for this particular model. But what would be the comparison between the two? My go-to and the Milwaukee version. Well, I would say they both feel different as far as the aerodynamics of how they feel in your hand. This one here is not the old school feel. It's got more of a hands. I guess if you're doing a lot of scroll work or different types of movement, this one seems to handle better. You can see your line easier in the hand. You can kind of pivot. It seems to have a better, more elegant feel for that. Whereas this one here is a bit more chunky, bit more bold through here. So it's really hard sometimes to see your sight line if you're doing lots of scroll type work. So I would say that would be the difference between this one and this one. But they're two different tools. This one has a lot more power. It's 3,800, I believe, for the, or 3,500 per minute. And this was what, 2,800? Yeah, so difference in power for sure. So depending on what you're cutting and what the job brings, that would change whether you use this one or this one. Battery life, of course, this one could take 6 amp hour, the bigger batteries, whereas this one you're left with the smaller 12. This is 18, this is 12. So totally two different ball games as far as power goes. So I don't want you to think, this is the cheaper of this. They're just two different tools. This has a different feel to it, a different cutting, and this one has a different feel and cutting as well. Feature-wise, they're very similar. This one's variable speed. This one is not. And where that's handy is depending on what you're cutting, you can fine-tune it a little bit better, whereas this one, you're just left with the trigger to do your fine-tuning. You can't actually change the speed in which you're cutting. So that's a big difference between the two of these. But this wasn't really a comparison video. I just wanted you to see the different models, I guess, of these jigsaws and kind of why one would be used more than the other on the job site. And I do love, kind of the feel of this if I was doing more intricate work, whereas this is just a beast, and it does a lot. It's very powerful, very strong, very well built, quite rugged. you know, for long-term durability. And I do, if you notice, I do have a massive blade on this one to cut through a bigger material, and that would be, of course, because of the power difference. So at the end of the day, would I recommend this Milwaukee as a standalone tool? And the answer is yes. And just like I say about any tool in my shop, in any brand that I cover, every brand slash tool has its purpose in your shop, and every tool you know, deserves to be used in its of course desired project. And the difference between these two I've already mentioned, and why I'd pick one versus the other depending on the project that I'm faced with. So at the end of the day, if you are in the Milwaukee lineup, you already have their tools, you already have their batteries. This one would be a no-brainer for adding to your collection of tools. It definitely is responsive, has plenty of power. We just cut through that 2x6, so it does have enough power to do any job you could throw at it for the most part. And you know, the only reason to change to a rigid one is if you're already part of the rigid lineup, you already own the batteries, and this is more kind of the day-to-day driver that you need for projects. So like I said, it all boils down to your needs in the shop. So once again, thanks for watching today's video, and if you haven't already and you'd like to be, click on that subscribe link and be part of the Shop Talk family. We'd love to have you on board to talk shop, talk tools, and also you can check out the interviews that I have with different friends of mine and their carpentry experience over the years. So give me a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next one. Have yourself a great day.